Greetings, friends. You are on the Ruslan Belov channel, and today we will discuss the situation in Ukraine as of March 14, 2025. A tremendous number of events have occurred today, so let's get started. Before we begin, I would like to sincerely ask you to subscribe to the channel. Your subscription helps the channel grow. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. Now let's move to the front line and start with the Sudzha district, where the armed forces of the Russian Federation continue to clear the border areas. First, let's see how the map has changed between March 13th and March 14th. Here is the map we observed yesterday. According to information and official data from the Ministry of Defense, as well as the northern group of Russian troops, by the end of March 13th, they managed to take control of settlements such as Podol, Melovoy, Sudzha, the settlement of Zaulashenko, and the settlements of Goncharovka. However, by the end of March 14th, as you can see, there are very few adjustments that can definitively confirm that the Russian Federation has cleared these settlements. Yes, throughout the day, various cartographers and experts reported on the further advance of Russian soldiers towards the state border. However, all these territories, as you can see, are disputed and shrouded in the fog of war. This indicates that the information was provided from various more or less reliable sources, but there have been no official confirmations, let alone objective control footage, of this advance. According to the latest data, Russian units managed to clear the village of Rubanshchina in the past 24 hours. This is the next settlement located west of Zaulashenko. Additionally, Russian units from the settlements of Kurilovka and Melovoy managed to advance westward towards the settlement of Oleshnya. By the end of March 14th, according to open-source information, 4 villages remained under the control of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, UAF, Gogolevka, Oleshnya, the settlement of Guevo and Gornal. Despite the fact that Ukrainian units still maintain their presence in certain sectors of the front, information has also begun to emerge that Russian units have crossed the border between the Sumy and Kursk regions. Currently, they are rapidly advancing towards settlements such as Gornal, a border settlement of the Russian Federation, as well as towards the settlements of Alexandria and further southwest towards Miropoli. At least we have objective control footage confirming this information. In these frames, we can observe a significant number of FPV drone strikes on Russian units attacking in this sector of the front. Based on the footage published by the Ukrainian side, the map has been partially updated in the southwestern part of the Sudzha district, as well as in the northeastern settlement of Miropoli. Let's see how the map has been adjusted for clarity. This is how this sector of the front looked by the end of March 13th, and this is how the map looks today by the end of March 14th. There is also information that the Ukrainian authorities from the Sumy region have decided to evacuate several cities, villages, and towns located along the state border, near the Sudzha district. First and foremost, the Ukrainian side has decided to evacuate the settlements of Yunakovka and Miropoli, precisely the 2 settlements where Russian units are currently advancing. It is still too early to talk about a large-scale offensive into the Sumy region, but we can see that Russian units are gradually advancing in this direction. Information continues to come in about a significant number of prisoners of war and a large amount of captured equipment. Footage of the evacuation of civilians is also being published. Additionally, today it was reported that the Russian military command and the regional administration have decided to increase the number of investigators in this sector of the front, as more and more cases of war crimes committed by Ukrainian soldiers and units during their presence in the Sudzha district are being uncovered every day and every hour. It is still too early to talk about any serious or real numbers and quantities of such crimes, but it seems that Russian investigators have a lot of work ahead of them. Next, we move to the northern Kupiansk direction, where, according to pro-Ukrainian cartographers, the armed forces of Ukraine continue their counter-offensive operation. Today, according to a pro-Ukrainian mapping service, the armed forces of Ukraine managed to regain control over a small village called Figolevka. Let me remind you that over the past few days, we have repeatedly received information that the Ukrainian army is counterattacking northeast of Kupiansk. There were reports of advances in the forest area between Senkovka and Petropavlovka, and now we have received information about the advance towards Figolevka. All these news items indicate that the Ukrainian side clearly understands the importance of this bridgehead for the entire defense of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, UAF, in this sector of the front. Therefore, they are making every effort to push Russian units out of villages such as Zaporizhia and Toretsk. In the future, we can expect counterattacks in the settlements of Topoli and the Kupiansk area. Next, we move to the Lyman and Siversk sectors of the front, from where a large number of news items are coming. The most interesting news today comes from southwest of the settlement of Siversk. Today, the Ukrainian side published objective control footage showing another attack by the Russian Federation, which the 30th Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces attempted to stop. In these frames, we can see a column of Russian equipment that advanced from the direction of the settlement of Soledar. After covering several dozen kilometers, the Russian equipment attempted to storm the settlement of Vasyukivka. In this video, we can see how Russian units managed to cross the farms from the T-0513 highway along this route, enter the central part of Vasyukivka, disembark their troops, and take control of this part of the settlement. This information was later confirmed by neutral cartographers. The main objective of this offensive by the Russian Federation was to divide Vasyukivka into two parts, eastern and western. It seems that, having secured a foothold in the central part between the two sectors of the front, the Russian side will likely make several more attempts to clear the eastern part of Vasyukivka. Once the Russian units manage to stabilize the front in this manner, they will be able to move further north, cross the Vasyukivka River, and advance first towards the settlement of Fedorovka, and then further towards Pokrovsk. After Pokrovsk, they will likely strike directly at Siversk itself. We can see that this sector of the front has been gaining momentum in recent days. Let me remind you that a few days ago, the Ministry of Defense reported the clearing and taking control of the settlement of Novomarkovo. However, to this day, there is no objective control footage to confirm this information. Nevertheless, the volume of news, as well as the various maneuvers being carried out by Russian units in this sector, suggests that we can expect a high level of combat activity and assault operations by the Russian Federation in the near future. Next, we move to the settlement of Toretsk, where fighting and clashes between Ukrainian and Russian forces continue. Over the past 24 hours, Ukrainian formations have stabilized the front line and improved their positions in the Zabalka micro-district. At least, this is what various neutral cartographers claim. As you can see, over the past 24 hours, another small block in the western part has come under the control of the UAF. In the northern part, objective control footage has been published showing the presence of Russian soldiers moving from building to building, with Ukrainian FPV operators striking them. This episode occurred in this exact location, and based on the objective control footage, territories previously considered contested have been marked as under Russian control. There are also reports of strikes by Krasnopol on the very northern part of the Toretskaya mine. Based on all this footage, we can see that if the Russian side controlled almost all of Toretsk a month ago, albeit with a non-continuous defense line, now we see that in certain parts of Toretsk, the clearing of the settlement has to start over. Given the pace of the offensive and the positions of the UAF, we can conclude that it will take at least another month for Russian units to fully restore control over this settlement. Next, we move to the Pokrovsk direction, where fighting continues for the salient southwest of the settlement of Pokrovsk, as well as in the settlement of Shevchenko. Today, objective control footage was published showing Russian units dropping bombs and explosives on Ukrainian units, attempting to storm the very southern part of the settlement. Based on this footage and data from various experts and military bloggers, there has been a significant update to the map of the eastern and southern parts of the settlement. Later, some pro-Russian experts claimed that this footage was archival, but without any supporting documents or information, they quickly reverted the southern part of Shevchenko to the control of the Russian armed forces. At the moment, it is difficult to say what is really happening here and who controls which part of the settlement. Fighting continues, so we will keep the map as it is until new geolocations are received. On the other hand, footage has been received from the settlement of Kotlina. Let me remind you that various pro-Ukrainian and neutral mapping services recently reported full control over Kotlina by the Ukrainian armed forces. However, today new objective control footage has been published, contradicting this information and showing a completely different picture. At the moment, Russian units maintain their presence in the settlement of Kotlina. Footage has also been published from the area south of the settlement of Udakne. In these frames, published by the Ukrainian side, we can observe a series of FPV drone strikes on Russian assault troops advancing across the fields towards the border between the Dnipropetrovsk and Donetsk regions of the DPR. The strikes were carried out in this part of the fields. And based on this footage, all these fields, previously considered contested territory, have been marked as under the control of the Russian armed forces. Fierce fighting also continues for the settlement of Uspenivka, which can change hands several times in a single day. This time, the offensive was carried out by the Russian Federation, and according to various pro-Russian experts, over the past 24 hours, the Russian army has once again managed to take control of at least 50%, if not more, of the settlement. Currently, fighting is ongoing for the outermost street, Shevchenko Street. Next, we move to the Donetsk direction, where the front line has stalled. Combat operations may be ongoing, but we have received no information from this sector of the front for either the fourth or fifth day in a row. The last information published from this direction was 3 or 4 flags raised by the Russian side on the western, southwestern and northwestern outskirts of the settlement of Konstantinovka. Although, as of March 14th, Ukrainian sources continue to insist that Konstantinovka is still 50% under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces, it seems that clearing operations are still ongoing. The southern Donetsk direction has seen some activity. Today, objective control footage was published. In these frames, we can see Russian soldiers from the settlement of Dnipro raising a flag in the central part. Let me remind you that a few days ago, the Ministry of Defense confirmed control over the village by the Russian armed forces. Today, objective control footage has emerged. There is also information that Russian units have managed to stabilize the front line between Dnipro and Rozdolne. We can see that the Russian side is gradually moving north towards the settlement of Otradivka and the H-15 road. Next, we move to the Zaporizhia direction, where the front line has also become active again. Let me remind you that yesterday, various pro-Russian experts and sources began publishing information that, as a result of relatively successful assault operations, Russian soldiers have managed to approach the settlement of Malosherbaki. Today, this information was also confirmed by neutral cartographers. Let me remind you that the last time Russian units entered the territory of Malosherbaki was before the start of the Ukrainian counter-offensive in 2023. At the moment, it is difficult to say what the Russian units' objective is. Either this is the beginning of a Zaporizhia offensive, or, as in 2023, the Russian side is trying to nibble away at the grey zone ahead of a possible offensive by the Ukrainian armed forces. That's all the news from the front for today. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.